Guys, what is happening to the Celtics? I'm going to be honest, like, what is actually happening to the Boston Celtics? Like, do you guys think that this is a slump, or do you guys think that they're done? Because this is something that, like, could be either. Honestly, this could be either. We don't know. We won't know until we see it. This could be a slump. They could be just cooked. But they are not looking like a team that is going to be a defending champion. They're just not. They're not looking... You can never count them out, because never count out defending champions, especially because they are the 2 seed in the Eastern Conference. But they had a chance not too long ago to pretty much just go up against the guys, or the Cavs. Like, they had a chance to get near enough, close enough to the Cavs, and the Cavs went and beat them. They had a chance against the Oklahoma City Thunder to, like, in that big game, to show that they were, we're the champions. This is why we're the champions. Except the difference was, not only did they not show up, they blew a huge lead. They blew a massive lead against OKC. And since then, this team's kind of been in free fall a little bit. Like, if you want to look at the standings, the Boston Celtics are, in their last 10 games, are 6-4. And you might be saying, like, oh, 6-4 is not that bad a record. It's not. It's really not. But, like, this is a team that looked almost unstoppable. And I mean that. They looked almost unstoppable for 18 months. Like, last season, they won 64 games. There is no, like, this season, they're on track to win in the 50s, I guess. Somewhere in the 50s. But, like, we talk about, they're 28-12. Like, they're the same record as the Houston Rockets, pretty much. But they're what? They're 3 games-ish ahead of, like, the Nuggets, who we've been talking about struggling for the year. And they haven't had that many health issues. Ironically, at the start, the reason why everyone thought the Celtics were just going to steamroll everybody again, was because the Celtics had injuries at the start. Now that everyone's healthy, they're struggling. Like, they just lost to the... Like, they were... If you want to look at their last games... They beat the Pelicans in their last couple of games this season. Obviously, they started off really well. Let's just go to the recent games. Even their wins are unconvincing. So after losing to the Thunder, this was like the real big game. I don't think Jokic played for the Nuggets that game, if I'm not mistaken. Jokic did not play for the Nuggets in this game. So since losing to the Thunder, yeah, they beat a Jokic-less Nuggets. They lost to the Kings. They beat the Pelicans by 1. And they got destroyed by the Kings. And they got comfortably beaten by the tanking Raptors. They got comfortably beaten to it by a team whose second best player is Grady freaking Dick. Like, the Raptors team are tanking. And if you're looking at last night's game, Jaylen Brown, 4 of 16, Tatum, 5 of 15. It's now almost at the stage where it's like hitting harder. It's getting harder for them to win while Tatum's playing badly. Because Tatum is, again... Look, I like Tatum. And I think one of the big things about Jason Tatum is that he's somebody that, when he's not scoring, can still impact the game in other ways. And that's one thing where it's like, I think his scoring is supremely inconsistent. Yes, I'm not saying he's a bad scorer by any means, but I'm saying he's an inconsistent scorer. They're both very, very different things. Being a bad scorer and being an inconsistent one. Either way, though, with Jason Tatum, over the last couple, like, took himself completely out of the MVP race. And you're looking now last night where their best player was Kristaps Porzingis, where Tatum and Brown combined for less than both of them normally should. And you might be saying, okay, no, this is just like a bit of a blip. But it's like, man, they were looking better with Kata starting center. Like, they were genuinely looking better in the games where he was starting center than they are right now. Like, I don't know how much, like, how long has it been just in terms of calendar days and time? Like, it's been basically the year of 2025 they struggled. Ever since that big OKC game. Genuinely. Ever since that huge Oklahoma City game, they have just, where they had, like, that game, they had that one. They had that game won. Like, I wonder what their biggest lead was right there in this game. Like, they lost it by 13 points. And if you guys didn't see, just in terms of the box score, like, they scored 27 points in the second half. Like, they had 35 and 30 in the first two quarters, then 27 in the second half. And after that, they've just looked awful. They've looked awful since that half. So it's going to be a really, really interesting one where it's like, what do you guys think? Do you guys think this is a slump? Because a lot of people are saying, like, not to worry yet about the Celtics. It's just kind of a mid-season slump. And I think it is. But it's like, you got to change something to get out of a slump. Just in basketball, you've got to change something. And it can be personnel. It doesn't have to be personnel, but it can be personnel. Like, you can make a trade. Like, if you guys don't remember, in 2022, they were kind of going through a bit of a mid-season slump. Heck, you could argue they were going through a bit of an early season slump that year. And, like, they were near 500. They made a Derek White trade. They made, Joe Mazzulla made a couple, or not Joe Mazzulla, sorry, Ime Udoka at the time, made a couple of adjustments, and they started to, like, look much, much better as a team. They started to look better in a lot of ways. And maybe it is a case where something has to be done, but because they're in the second apron, they've got no real flexibility to make trades. So it's a real tough one, and it's like, they're so 6-player dependent, or 7-player dependent after Pritchard. Like, their starters, Pritchard and Horford, and nobody would really want anybody else on that team. So it's going to be tough to make a personnel swap. But, yeah, it is going to be really interesting come the playoffs. And look, for the sake of basketball, it's definitely better. Because if you guys don't know, like, we'd all kind of written off the season, hadn't we? We'd all kind of written off the season and thought, you know what, it's just a formality the Celtics win. But now, with the Celtics not, like, being at the peak of their power, it at least gives a chance to somebody else. It's not like it's not just some guarantee anymore. It's not like, oh, we're just waiting for the Celtics to win now. We're now at least we're watching basketball games, and we can be interested in seeing the playoffs because it's not just a formality this year. Hopefully, anyway. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Let me know. Am I wrong? Do you guys think the Celtics are still going to win? I assume they're still the favorites. I assume, yeah. No, they're not actually. Are they? No, there's no way. They're not the favorites. Yeah, they're still the favorites. Them and the Thunder are basically even, but they are still the favorites to win the championship. And you know what? Rightfully so. They've won, but this kind of reminds me of Denver last year, where maybe they weren't quite as good in the regular season. And turned out they weren't quite as good in the playoffs either. But anyway, yeah. See you guys.